take a couple deep breaths. And
Yeah.
my intention is to lift up this planet and our spirits and our beings. And so this is going to be a really cool one because I haven't done one like this yet. You know, this is a different type of freedom we're talking about. So
I live better than a king ever did. I live better than a king. I don't need a thing. I've got a puppy and I've got a car and I've got friends and love in my heart and I've got the Constitution. Hell yeah! I live better than a king ever did. I live better than a king. I don't need a thing.
welcome, Freedom Junkies, to Freedom Junkie Radio. I'm Betsy Dewey, your host. And this is your destination for the next level of freedom, whatever that looks like. And today's discussion is going to be about freeing ourselves from the limitations of our own mind. Today, my guest is Coco the Spiritual Badass. That's pretty badass. So let me introduce you to Coco. Welcome, Coco.
Welcome. So lovely to be here. I'm so excited.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. Look at you living on your boat.
There we go.
Yep. She's at a marina. So we're going to be talking about freeing ourselves from the limitations of our own minds, which is a hugely important and beautiful and wonderful topic. But first, I want to ask you, I think it's pretty strong, Coco, for you to say, I'm Coco the Spiritual Badass. That's strong. Yeah. So tell us,
It is.
How did that come about, your name?
Honestly, it was just a side remark from one of my clients. I do one-on-one coaching, and it just came about naturally. And I felt uncomfortable for a second, which seemed like several, but I'm like, no, I'm growing into that one. If anything, I'm going to grow into it. But I immediately, it landed naturally for me. And I said, yeah, I am. I'm Coco, the spiritual badass. You know,
that is so awesome. So tell us a little bit about you. You do coaching, like you said, and you pretty much, is it mostly women and you take them to the next level? Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. I've decided to focus on women. I have worked with men in the past who have been equally successful, but I've decided that I'm actually expanding my practice from one-on-one to group setting. And therefore, I narrowed down into just women for this topic because we are faced with a different set of rules. Some may agree or disagree with me, so be it. But the fact is, we are, as women, faced with a different set of rules. I've lived in America, and I lived in Paris, and I'm back to America again. So it's the same thing. We have to break through the glass ceilings, right? It's a different mindset that we've been I'm not fond of the word program, but apparently that one came through, so I will allow it to flow. But our mindset, we have been set into this behavioral response system, if you will. And the way to free ourselves of this mindset is to not be satisfying expectations of society, because it is a male-led society. It's built that way. And by going within ourselves and finding that balance, that we don't have to be, I personally, in both the public sector and the private sector, I felt like I had to behave more like the good old boys, like the men. in order to climb my ladder, you know? And I wasn't being authentic to myself as a woman, if you will. And I was respecting the rules. And some of those rules were so clearly set for men that it wasn't a woman's place. I certainly did not form into a complete male dominated box, if you will. But I was accommodating the society's expectations in order to climb the ladder. And I did, swiftly, even comparatively speaking. But what did I find at the end of what society is saying? Well, you do this, this, and this, and you have the good life. And I'm like, yeah, done it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you
sure.
climbed that corporate ladder. That was your former life. You've done that and you let it go.
I let it go. I got through so many glass ceilings that I was just like, there's nothing here. The good life isn't here, you know? With the promise, you know, it wasn't there. So I started to look within. Of course, that's when life happens, you know, it all hits the fan. And anyways, one of the biggest push was when my son was diagnosed with autism. And I realized immediately, well, first of all, I didn't accept the diagnosis at first. I was speaking only French to him at the time. So long story short, I didn't take it. It took about 6 months. And then I met someone in the field that's quite well known, who happened to be at our public library giving a speech, and she herself was autistic. And I thought that was just brilliant. And then I said, okay, I've worked with autism. I've worked with these kids before, and I'm blessed as a parent to have a child on the autism spectrum, because I already know what I've been teaching teachers, what I've been teaching my own students who are on the autism spectrum. I can apply to my own situation. So I am blessed to have this child, and this child is blessed to have me because I already have 18 years of experience built behind me. And that's when it started unraveling in my head. I'm like, yes, this is the fulfillment that I've been seeking. Here it is. This is the good life. It's a bit of a struggle at first as I get into alignment, as the gurus love to say. So it was strange going from the corporate to guru, if you will, or woo-woo, whatever they want to call. You know, I loved my suits and high heels, you know, but spiritually, it was empty. It was an empty space. I'm not for containers. But anyways, that being said, I brought myself back in and started really focusing on meditation. And meditation is what brought me out of the imbalance. I had a chemical imbalance going on, having dealt with a pregnancy, birth, and really honestly, there were 5 deaths, but 4 of whom were, one was my mother, and then my 3 remaining grandparents, of which I was very close with, all transitioned within this short time period of 2 years. So I had this chemical balance going on in my body, and I was just like, can't handle it. The medication that was being given to me was making it worse. So I was just like, no, I'm going back to my roots. And I thank my dad for that. He transitioned when I was in my barely entering my 20s. And, but he was in New Age. So he gave me a few little seeds, and they just suddenly germinated, and I went into meditation, balanced out the imbalance, and went from corporate to guru, and no longer have that guru ick about it, you know, because it was like so difficult. I certainly was in the scientific analyze mindset and following the old school ways. Trying to step away from that was an interesting journey, but one that I saw in my clients, because I actually had clients through this whole journey of my own. I was still working with clients and watching them take off to other countries, see their finances explode, and they're single parents too. It was just mind-blowing. I'm watching all the success and I'm just dealing with my struggles. And I was just like, wow, I can still be that beneficial presence for somebody. And that's what kept me going as well. And I realized that's the matrix of it all. Every bit of us has something to give. And it was going within and really honing in on meditation that brought me here.
You and I spoke a few weeks ago when we were lining up this interview, and you said to me something about how we don't talk about spirituality much, how it's it's part of every single thing we do. We are a spirit. And so why is it that we don't talk about it? And why is it so important that we do?
I think society has led us to believe that spirituality is somehow intertwined with a religion, and it's not. It's about respecting one another's beliefs, whatever beliefs we each have. If we authentically, really, truly believe in that, we could still have a conversation without agreeing. Just hold a conversation, because there is something that we bring to one another, irrespective of any differences. There is this one source of spirituality, our soul, that gives us the energy and shines light for others and gives us our personal journey through it all. And it's a spectacular, fulfilling, loving journey. But we tend to turn away from it because, don't want to go down there. It's just too uncomfortable. I say, strap it on. Let's go down that and let's check it out, because you will be amazed.
Yeah,
it's the journey itself.
It's almost like there's something scary about it, or embarrassing, or, so, I mean, why would we feel that way? Why would we be scared of the thing that should fascinate us the most, or embarrassed, like we don't really want to talk about it? Why are we like that?
I mean, I've seen it in education, the duality, and this is like it's pretty difficult to believe this, but when I reached the point of realizing that oneness, the non-dualistic, there is no good, there's no good and there's no bad. There just is.
There's a Shakespeare quote. There's a Shakespeare quote. It says, let me just jump in. He said, there's no such thing as good or bad, lest thinking make it so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like you could say anything, like sugar, is it good or bad? Well, it's neither, but if you think it's bad, it's bad. If you think it's good, or, anything. Theft, stealing from someone, is it bad or good? Well, it depends on how you're thinking about it. So yeah, exactly. Go ahead. So I didn't want to interrupt you. I just thought that was cool.
I'm so glad you did, because I hadn't, there, you say Shakespeare, and as a kid, I was Puck in Midsummer Night Dream. So I did the final closing of that. And throughout the years, I don't think I would be able to right now because we're in this conversation, but throughout the years, I never forgot the closing of Puck's words, which closed the entire play. But I highly recommend reading through it. I saw changes in myself and understanding of Shakespeare's words, which as a teenager, those were pretty twisted words, First of all, you're dealing with Old English, and then you're dealing with something. But that something, it's all, give me your hands if we be friends.
Yes. Okay. I totally got you off your train of thought. You were saying, we were talking about why we're embarrassed, or why we push spirituality away. And you had said that nothing is good or bad. And I interrupted you.
Well, yeah, nothing is good or bad. It just is. And when we get to that understanding, realization of all of this, then we realize that limitations in societies, you must do this or else it's bad. And then we do it and it doesn't happen. Then we're just like, well, society says, oh, well, you didn't do it this way. And it's it's like a puppeteer manipulating. But if we can just hone in to our oneness of all there is, then we see that the limitations are really setting us up for failure and setting us up for to play ourselves down. And if I bring in the woman, you have to do this, this, and this in order to achieve this, and see the perceived gaps, because there are no gaps. It's just the perspective not being seen. There's something, a veil, if you will, over the oneness.
Well, instead of all being raised to see how beautiful and perfect we all are, we're compared to one another in school.
Yeah.
There's there's the valedictorian and everybody else is lesser, and or that guy gets A's and you don't, and you're good at math and you're not. And it's this comparing so I think it's hard to break through those limitations that are put on us at a young age. And
we just don't, we aren't our authentic selves. We're told, like you just said, the mathematician, or be a doctor, be a lawyer, because that's, I even remember my grandmother telling me that as like a 3-year-old. Do you know what you want to be? Be a doctor, be a lawyer. She loved me, and she just wanted me to succeed. She wanted to make sure that I could live life and be happy. I realized that she didn't mean any ill to me, but the fact that I lost the value towards creativity, not to say that I would be an artist, but the expression, spirituality is a creative force. It's not a force, but a creative power. And by downplaying that creativity, that creative power, and only giving an analytical mind authority and value, we're losing who we truly are as human beings. We're out here. No, we're right here. And that creative power within us can do anything and everything. It has created this entire world when the person taps into their creative source. And that creative source is spirit. It is the soul, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. There are many names that people call it by. And it doesn't, not to get attached to the name, just know that it's a source of who we are. And yeah, teachers would teach us that. Being a teacher, yeah, I didn't follow the books. To be honest, I didn't follow the books. I did get my master's in education, and then here I am teaching in Paris, right? Fantastic, teaching at a university, and was one of the youngest professors there. I obtained my tenure and academic tenure. Hooray! Went next door to the trade school, started teaching there. My colleagues were just like, no, you can't do it this way, because they were so confined to the books that they couldn't see the creativity Go draw outside the lines. For goodness sakes, Pablo Picasso drew outside the lines. Dali, all over the place, and it's the most creative force, power that you can see. And we appreciate it for some, but not for all. We only give value to the analytical. We don't give value to the spiritual creativity that dwells within us and is being siphoned off or closed off. And we just need to release it. And yeah, we can be mathematical geniuses, but we have to open up that channel, if you will, and allow the creativity to flow. Because that's where it's coming from.
Think of how creative Einstein was, mathematician, but and all those guys, all those amazing scientists, they're thinking outside the box all the time. So I think a lot of us, actually all of us, live in certain boxes, and they say that when you step outside your comfort zone expands. So we should all be finding ways to step outside of our comfort zone so that we are comfortable in far more situations and life becomes richer. And I know it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, do something each day that scares you. And so stepping into these things, because that's what life's all about. That's the juice, But for those of us who haven't practiced getting out of our box, and it's scary to get out of the box, and we've been so good at staying in the box, and we've been so praised for staying in the box and doing the right thing and all that. What are some things people can do to shake that up and get outside the lines and get outside the box and say, to heck with everything I've been told? You don't have to pull who was it? Who was the artist that went from England to Tahiti and left his family?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but
why is his name not coming to me?
Nor me, for that matter. But
it'll come. He pulled.
Probably.
What? Did you get it?
No, I can't think of the name.
It'll come. So why it's not Big Ass and it's not Cezanne and it's not. Anyway, he pulled a total jerk move and left his family and was like, I'm going to go do art. And he moved to Tahiti, and I can't believe I couldn't think of his name.
I know. I'm like, every time you say it, I was like, I'll close my eyes and maybe it will come.
I'll put it on the video. It'll be like, ding. Well, yeah, see, you don't have to do that, but what do we do to shake it up? Because I think that when we do that is when we get into a flow of newness and creativity, and we connect with our spirit. So what can people do?
Exactly. The simplest thing to do is to
go again, to
meditate it, to go within and meditate. And I found the strongest one that I found, the fundamental, as far as I'm concerned, is an evening meditation where you just pause, pull yourself into the what I call, and many do, the now moment. Yes, the day is past. Whatever took place. Breathe into it. Take 3 deep breaths, deep and long, and release them. And you can even just take a long, deep breath, hold it at the apex, and release it. That's a reset for the whole system in and of itself. And the next thing I suggest is be in love with where you are. Be in love with yourself. Self-love is not an egotistical manner. It is fundamental that we love ourselves. I don't mean to the point where you're going around and somebody's going around saying, I'm so in love with myself. No, it just shows, because people are just attracted to a person who loves themselves but is serving at the same time. And that energy is just allowing it to flow. And what I've seen is that by doing night meditations, we're pulling off the day and resetting ourselves. Before we even go to sleep, we're resetting ourselves, placing ourselves into a loving position, loving within, first and foremost. And if there's something that we want, our dreams, our aspirations, we can set that in our intention. That's why I love how you started today, our conversation earlier. It's because we set that intention out. And almost like miraculously now, I can set an intention when I go to bed. And then if I have questions, not all the how-to details, but just I'm setting this intention. What is my next step? Not how to, just what is my next step? I wake in the morning with what I need. Everything I need, I have it. Now, in the beginning, it wasn't always like that. It might roll out a few days later, a week later. I could be driving down the street. It would have to be a moment, actually. I was guessing that it was usually a moment where my mind was released from all grasps on anything else. But the simplest one I would say is taking the most simplest, taking 3 deep breaths. 3 deep, long breaths, hold it at the apex and release. It's actually a scientific, even Western science, where you're resetting the chemical system within your own body that way. But you feel it. When you finally start getting in tune with yourself, you start to feel that release. Even your muscles release through it all.
Okay, so I have
the
a
next
couple of
thing
questions.
I would say was the night meditation.
Okay, so you're saying to do this right before you go to bed, or just evening time at some point? It doesn't matter.
The breathing, the 3 breaths, I say do anytime. Anytime when you're feeling overwhelmed. We often feel very overwhelmed with our days, right? It could be just reading some emails and it's just like, gosh, why did I read that? Or I don't watch the television, but if someone's watching the television, I say, good gracious, turn it off. But if you really want to keep it on, make sure you take a few breaths at the end or during, several times during, depends. But the 3 breaths, the easiest thing to do. And even if you don't feel like you need it, you can still take it. But the evening meditation is fundamental. It's fundamental. It really, you can shake the societal, the old school ways through meditating at night by releasing it, intentionally releasing it, and seeing that there are other options. And you don't have to break laws to do it, but you're just being authentic. You can be authentic and not be following the old school ways and still get not only get what you want in less time even, but get more fulfilling results. And that is by far, isn't that what everybody really, really wants in life? I mean, right. I know that's what I want for my son and my daughter. My son's much younger, but my daughter is already doing quite well for herself. But that's certainly what I want for my son. And he's on the autism spectrum, but I know without a doubt that I'm installing these behavioral responses. And I'm seeing results, but I know that it will serve him later on in life as well.
Okay, so you've taught him to do an evening meditation?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I'm totally stealing that. Okay, so and this is, you mean right before bed, right?
Right, yeah, right at bedtime.
Okay, right, don't do it and then spend an hour answering emails. You're setting your intentions and relaxing yourself and doing a meditation right before bed.
Right before bed. And you don't really even need more than 15 minutes, really. It doesn't even have to be more than 15 minutes. I know a lot of individuals like to promote that it has to be a certain length, yada, yada. No, I have 3-minute meditations. I have 5-minute. I have the 8-minute.
Okay. How long does your son, how long does he usually do it?
He's the 15-minute guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
this is a child that it would take him an hour to fall asleep, because his mind's going. He has a mind that is, anyways, it's going. and now asleep in 20 minutes maximum. And after we do the meditation as of late, it's so strange. But he loves to listen to an audiobook by David R. Hawkins. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Is he the guy who did the spectrum of vibration? That sounds familiar. The one who,
yeah.
I think that's the name of the guy who did the vibration, like guilt vibrates at 20 and then fear and moves. I think that's the name.
Yes. I'm trying to think of the word right now, but it's not coming to me. But yes, that's him. He's transitioned already himself, but yes, calibrations is what he calls it. And he does the muscle testing. I didn't realize that was him. I had seen people talk about it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I started really getting into him, and I was like, okay, well, there you go.
What's the audiobook?
The audiobook he really loves listening to is The Eye of the I. And I'm going to bring him over to try the Force versus Power, or Power versus Force. I can't remember. But they're excellent. They're books. You know, this is a 10-year-old. And here's a 10-year-old. Listen to David R. Hawkins was he became quite spiritual, but his work is in psychiatry, psychoanalysis. It's an MD, PhD MD. And he finds it fascinating to listen to these audios. So it's just, and they're wonderful because it's a mindset that these books are teaching.
Okay.
It's non-duality. Eye of the I is about non-duality.
Okay. Well, so a lot of people pray before they go to bed. That's a habit that some people have. So how would you, if someone wants to pray and meditate, what would you recommend doing first?
I would tell them to do what they feel is their authentic self. You don't have it.
Prayer is kind of a meditation.
It is. Yeah. Actuality, it is a meditation. It truly is. It's on the spiritual realm. And it certainly is. But if somebody, no, each one of us has our innate knowingness, and we need to learn to dive into it and trust it. Give it value, because there is your creative source right there. And if you feel that you need to pray first before meditation, or meditation before prayer, and then you suddenly discover it's one and the same, there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Because now I feel kind of dumb for asking that question, because it is like, no, we do have an intuition. Coco the Spiritual Badass, I don't have to ask her everything. I know something.
No, but I mean, your question is very common. Which way should I do? And I am very glad you brought it up, because this is the thing. The reason why I didn't get into meditation back in my 20s, like really into it, I skimmed along because I was my dad and I had a good relationship. So I highly respected meditation, but the meditations I was listening to, you have to do it this way or else. It was just plugging back in old school system of you have to do it this way or else it's not going to work. And that's a bunch of BS. And I mean it both as a belief system and the other, because it doesn't matter. We are creative beings. We are a source of all there is. And within that flows out from us. We don't have to reach and grab for it. It's right here. It's right here. It flows out from us. It's just a question of how much has our belief system closed off that source that we can sense it. And we sense it in those terms, in the terms of it can be an aha moment. Oh yeah. Oh, isn't that so? That's natural. Naturally, of course, that makes so much sense. Of course it makes sense, because it's a natural source dwelling within you, infinite, abundant. I mean, there really is. The abundance is always there. The reservoir is always there. It's just a matter of diving in and enjoying the waters.
So that is something, getting our mind beyond the limitations of our own minds. I suppose since we're a physical manifestation, at least we think we are, it could be it could be all imaginary. I don't know. Then everything in our lives would be, and I know that the Buddha said this, the world that we've created comes 100% from the thoughts that we've had. We've created it. So look around, and if you're like, this is pretty good, you're doing great, but you can always do more and better. You can create, it's infinite, like you said, and there's no right or wrong. And so there's, so much talk about abundance and creating more abundance in your life, and people are all after this abundance. And some people are there, they're just, they're there. Just go down to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. Woo, they're there. And they're showing it. But that's a certain type of abundance, right? There's lots of types of abundance. There's spiritual abundance, and abundance of friends, and abundance of good food to eat, and whatever so if our minds are the only thing that really limits us, what are some techniques that people can use to shatter those limits?
Well, often I'm thinking of one person that just jumped into mind. They're grasping onto outside sources. And I'm like, that's only a reminder. That's just a reminder that you are already that. And even within ourselves. But I'm thinking of someone who I love crystals. Okay.
Me too.
I really do. I love them. I just, at first I could see them, I'm like, okay, fine. You could use them as like a crutch. You break your leg, you're going to have a crutch, sure. But know that within you are healing. It's not the crutch healing your leg, it is you. It is not the crystal that is going to heal whatever ailment. It is holding a vibration, a vibratory level that you yourself can hold. But you need to go within and release those limiting beliefs. The belief that you need to grasp onto, that you are this, you have to do this. There's nothing we have to do. No shouldas, have to, must, nada. Another one just popped into mind for competition. You have a lot of entrepreneurs that are being told, look at your competition, and do what they're doing or better. And it's like, abundance is everywhere. It is within you. Do what you authentically do, and bring your attention, your conscious awareness to your thoughts. If you're somebody that's saying, oh, it is what it is. Why are you saying that? What really is that you are giving up. You are allowing your responsibility to seep away, and you're just accepting your situation as it is. Now, let's just say, even for 5 minutes, imagine that you yourself create all there is for yourself. You are not impeding on anybody else. Everybody else gets what they want too. Their abundance is there. You cannot take away from their abundance. Thus, there is no competition, because you're never going to take away from anybody else. You try, and it's going to be a very painful situation. But if you create the abundance from within, you're going to be living it, not impeding on somebody else's, so you needn't feel bad, because there's plenty to go around. Infinite, even. And you won't be. You never are, never have been impeding on anybody else's abundance. It is your own. Always has been, right from the start. So, yeah, I mean, the simplest is if you have the crystals, remember that you're the vibratory rate of whatever that crystal represents to you. Words are important. What words are you using? Listen to your own mind chatter. That's the big one. Because children, we see them when they're playing in the sand and they're talking to themselves. That voice, as they grow older, goes within, and that's what they're listening to themselves. So listen to the children. If you have children, listen to what they're saying. Little children, I'm saying, because usually by the time they're 11, it's already turned within. I think that was Jung, actually, Carl Jung, that brought that one up, but I'd have to double check for references. But the mind chatter is basically what we heard growing up. And we could be telling ourselves, I'm not any good at this. That doesn't matter. Yeah, that's a gorgeous painting, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. And it could be a tableau of the most amazing. I really do. I remember growing up and seeing these amazing classmates who had this beautiful ability to paint. And nothing really, they're so down on themselves. And it's like, I know, because our school was so competitive that they were venturing in a field that was unworthy. There's no worth in that, but there certainly is. But going within, and if you need, if a crystal will help or a bracelet will help, I'm saying this and I don't have mine on, but there are times where I'll wear my bracelets. But do you remember the times when we used to have like some sort of forget-me-not or a string around your finger so you don't forget to do something, and then it became a string around the wrist or something like that? If you want to wear beads around your wrist or around your neck, or crystals, and just remember what they are, and then also listen to what you're saying to yourself within. What do you hear? Are you cheering yourself on, or are you criticizing yourself?
Yeah, I think allowing ourselves to truly think that we're worthy and we deserve love, and that we love ourselves, and that we're good. And all those things are barriers to break through. And you really have to break through those. You have to believe that. I love how you just said that it's not the crystals doing the work. It's us thinking that they are, is what it is. So
yeah, so they can help, but then they're going to lose their effectiveness if we don't go within, because we're still thinking outside is going to help us with inside, but it's what's inside here that's going to change what's out here. It doesn't matter how many crystals we have around us. And I really do. I have our boat is actually like crystals everywhere.
Yeah, I know
Not
you've
everywhere.
got crystals on there protecting that boat and everyone in it. I know you do.
Yeah, I created my own grid, but I kid you not, it probably is less than 20 crystals down there, But I've created a grid, but I also know the protection is here. In fact, there is no need for protection because I already vision that all is well. Mm-hmm. All is perfect, whole, and complete.
Yeah,
nothing going outside of that.
When you placed those crystals and charged them with protecting the boat, you knew, you were like, and it is so.
Yes.
And that's the powerful part. Yeah. Okay. You're shifting something for me. Thank you.
Exactly. It's just a reminder. Okay. I'm love. I love. And I am loving, and I am loved. And I go through that. And if for your listeners, that could be the simplest thing. Stop every now and then and say something nice to yourself. Uplifting.
when you say our words that come out of our mouth, that's something that's been a part of what I've done too, become very conscious of what I say, because I know that what we say, there's what we think becomes what we say, becomes what we do, becomes us. And our society has been so programmed to just talk terrible. I mean, it started, I don't know when it started, like when I was a little kid, just dropping the F-bomb in the movies all the time. And now it's so common that people do it around kids. And I'm like, really? You know, and so I'm not saying, if you're one of those F-bomb people and that's just who you are and that's what you do, I am not judging you. That's great, whatever. But personally for me, I find that word and the other words that I had, I've had to work on myself to not jump out of my mouth. Those words don't vibrate at a high level from what I feel. And so I don't want to speak them. And so I don't. And you can call me whenever you want. I don't care. If I'm a goody two shoes or whatever, that's fine. I've worked really hard to have positivity be what I think and what comes out of my mouth. And I'm seeing it outside myself now. Right. So what, here, go ahead. And I just thought of another question too, but what do you have to say on that? Just the words that our society is using as a whole.
Yeah, it plays a role on the collective consciousness or the race consciousness or whatever word they want to attach to that collective, if you will. It goes right back to why you often hear, if you want something better in your life, surround yourself with people who already have it. Why is that? Well, because you will be surrounding yourself with their one energetic presence. Whatever you say, it doesn't matter. You are energy. We all are energy. Then if you talk about the words, people attach emotions to the words. The words will have that emotion, the connotation tied to it. And within a group of individuals, the energy is getting stronger and stronger. So by removing the F-bomb words or whatever, the negative, the low vibrating words from your experience, all of a sudden you start rising to a different level and things go incredibly smoothly. Why is that? Well, we're energy. And wherever we don't create it, we can't destroy it. It just is. It changes form. And if you want to look on the scale, we can say that you're raising your energy, right? But we are creating even with our words. It's not just our belief system, but our thoughts are corresponding to our beliefs that we hold. So when we go in and say, do I really believe that? Why? Why do I believe that? In fact, that would be a great question. Why? Why do I believe this? Where did I get this from? And very quickly, almost all the time, the person will be like, oh my gosh, I think I heard it as a kid, or a parent would often say, or a family member or a teacher would often say it. Words play with our mind and how an experience unfolds. And so, yes, by removing the F-bombs or negative, lower energy words, we naturally rise because we are vibrating. We are naturally a high vibrating individual or energy field.
And it's also raising your consciousness and your awareness, because if you're conscious of what you're saying and you consciously change what you're saying, because I think when people get into the habit of cuss words, there's just a lack of consciousness there. You're not in control anymore. It's just popping out left and right. So hold on a minute here. Take control of yourself and your words. You do have that ability to control it. And so you become conscious of it. And then you've raised your consciousness. You've raised your awareness, which then shifts everything, right? That's what we're trying to do.
Exactly. Exactly. It shifts. You have a shift of perspective.
So
And it seems so minute, like it would be so minute, but there are times when it's just like, oh wow, oh yeah. And other times you're just like, blow me away. Holy cow. Wow. You're just completely aha'd
yeah,
and blown out of the
what if all we
and
did was consciously
so simple.
say beautiful, wonderful, uplifting things? If we just uplifted everyone around us consciously, what would happen?
Right.
Ooh, let's do that. Let's do that for the next 3 days and then circle back around and see how that goes.
Just as simple as that. Exactly. Or even for 21 days, just try it. Or if that becomes too overwhelming, because it depends on the person too. Like you said, try for 3 days. See what happens. Or 24 hours.
You know what?
See.
You're going to bug the crap out of your negative friends. The people that are negative in your life are going to be like, go away. You're going to be like, okay, I will.
Well, actually, they turn away themselves because they no longer have that vibrational field that they were resonating with, and they naturally disappear. There's no confrontation, and I think that's another issue that a lot of my clients were like grappling with. Well, what am I going to do with so and so? They're so. It's like, no, when you're not vibrating at the level of the other person, that's also vibrating on that, they just naturally go elsewhere. There's no confrontation. Sure, there's confrontations in life, but you're not going to get out into a dispute over it. If you simply say, no, I just don't feel like cussing today, for example. I'm just trying this out, for giggles. Let me just try this out. And see how long or make it if you want. If you love competition, if you're a sports fan and you love competition, okay, because personally I do. I love sports, but it is competition. Duality. Yikes. No yikes. It's fun. We're all actually on the same team. Whether they're the opposing team or not, we wouldn't have a game if the two didn't come together, right?
And if you don't play your best, then you're not lifting that other person up to play their best. You got to try to win.
Exactly. No one, if you're on your own, no one's going to throw you the ball because there isn't anybody, right? So, yeah, competition games, it's still good. But the thing to recognize is you all are on the same team. The team is the game itself. You might be opposing teams, but the game itself is the one. It's the sport of it all. And it's the fun of it all. We don't need to make it into a low vibrating, hateful.
Mm-hmm.
We can uplift it and enjoy the fact that we all love this sport. And okay, this team won today. Congratulations. Well played. And that's the end of the story. It doesn't have to turn into a hate fest. It can be a love fest. And why the hell not? Right? Sorry, that one slipped in there. But it can be a love fest. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no good or bad. It's just part of the fun, the journey of loving it all.
I had a thought when you were talking about the nighttime meditation, about how I wouldn't have been able to do that before I quit drinking, because I don't think that drinking and meditation are a combination that would go well. And I think that my drinking, I was drinking every evening, and there's no way I could have meditated. So I just had a sobriety coach on just recently, and we had a wonderful interview about how amazingly freeing your life is when you let alcohol go, because it's a low vibration too. So I'm guessing, and I'm going to pry personally into your personal life, I'm guessing you probably don't drink if you meditate every night. Am I right?
No, believe it or not. I mean, I don't drink nearly as much as I did in France. Let's just say that my drinking habit definitely changed. I would naturally have a glass of wine with my meals. but I could easily go without it. So when I came over here, the flavor isn't the same. The food even isn't the same. And it's very difficult to find something that pairs well with it, and not to go too beyond there, but absolutely not. I enjoy wine, but I effectively no, I don't have I don't have a glass every night. And do I still meditate when I do? Yeah, actually I do. I'm thinking of last week, I had dinner at my daughter's and her husband's house, and came home after having some wine, and still I was fine. I do. I know this is what I'm saying, is that about when I said earlier, meditation has to be a certain way for certain individuals that are teaching meditation. Just like how I used to teach, just like when I moved to the private sector, I don't do, I go out, I scribble outside the lines. I scribble outside the
Okay,
lines.
that's
I
awesome.
believe life is to be lived. Personally, I enjoy red wine. I do. But I understand where you're coming from. I do. I can picture it. I can't say that I experienced the same, but I can say is, yeah, I meditate. I meditated when I got home, and it wasn't any different. Maybe it's not so profound. I don't know. I just don't judge it, and that's the whole point of meditation, is to remove judging and categorization. There is no good or bad. It all is. Chaos is really chaotic. It's all order. And when we restore into society the balance of the feminine and masculine within society as equal, then we're not dealing with the competition. We're dealing with order. But I will say, that being said, I will say right here and now, even this very moment, is perfect order. But that's coming from within, knowing and setting intentions for good. And yes, I did use the word good when I said there is no good or bad, but there obviously have to build a whole new language. But when I say good, there is only good. There is only good. And you have just if you will, that vibrational. There's a high vibration and a low vibration. And each are at the one end of the vibration and the other. You'll have the good high vibration, and then you'll have the low vibration, which, if you want to call it bad, go ahead. But just remember, it's all, if you will, the same chord, the same vibration.
Yeah, well, we know
just
what
a level.
feels good. Being loved
Yeah.
and held and told that we're loved makes us feel good. Feeling guilty and fear and those things, that it just doesn't feel good. Anger, and that
Because
goes
it's not
without
who we
saying.
are. It's not who we are. It's
Well,
really not.
so you and I have so much in common. I've lived on a sailboat. J'habitais à Paris. I lived in Paris for a while, and I brought home the habit with me. And so you and I are very different in that regard. I can't have a glass of wine. A glass of wine has never interested me at all. So there's no way I could meditate after having 3 or 4 glasses of wine. I wouldn't even think of it. So we're different in that regard. And I love that you keep coming back to that there's no right or wrong way at all. It is just whatever you're creating, and taking responsibility for that and the consciousness for it, and creating your world and your life through your thoughts and your words.
Not judging it. Any of it. Can't judge any of it. It's perfect. It's where you are today. And no matter what, you are love. We all are. And it's coming to that realization that life is but a journey of discovering love, unconditional love, not the warm, fuzzy stuff that happens sometimes every now and then. It's the unconditional love and compassion that flows through, that's willing to be open their heart, open my heart, and say, okay, I may not agree here with someone, with this individual, or this experience, but I know I go within and I know I'm love. I know they're love. And whatever this roughness between us is perhaps just a sign that I need to look within. And what is it within me that's feeling uncomfortable? And do I attach a word of guilt or shame to it? If I do, I will dive into that, because behind every low vibrating descriptive word, if you will, is the answer to happiness and joy and love. Every single one of them. It's just something that we've held on to. It's within us, it's stuck within us. And by seeing that there's love behind it all, that energy just flows away and we're no longer triggered by it. It takes away the trigger. And that's important too.
Okay. Well, so is there anything else that if you could tell the world and help them free themselves from the limitations of their own creations in their own mind, is there anything else you would leave us with?
Yes. Before speaking, if you feel like you've been triggered, just take a few breaths and ask yourself, is it really worth responding? Because no one's going to take unsolicited advice. We cannot help the world if somebody doesn't want help and hasn't asked for it, then you're providing unsolicited advice. And it's not going to fall on their ears, no matter how loud you say it. And you need to respect. You're respecting yourself and them, which means love, really. Respect for me is love. But realizing respect grows from love. It's not something that I expect from other people. It's the respect that I have for myself and the love I have for myself. And knowing that I can love somebody from a distance. So if you can love from a distance and focus on the love within you, then you'll be able to draw out the life, the creativity that dwells within. It's not something you grasp for at all, ever. No matter what anybody says, it's all within you. And it will naturally flow out. And and I don't know if this would be a good time to say, but I've actually created a free meditation for your audience. And if I can just get that meditation out there, it's not for me. I just feel like if we have enough people to create that collective consciousness of love, just make it as big as possible. It has a ripple effect. We see ripple effects all the time. We might not recognize it, but we see them all the time. So if we can, by sharing this, I trust and know that by sharing a foundational meditation, it will get out to the maximum amount of people. And from there, people can build the lives that they wish to have, to experience their aspirations. So that will be available. I'll give you the link.
Okay. I didn't know.
For you.
What a surprise.
I know. I forgot. I admit I kind of did forget to mention that in my message to you. But I was putting together putting it together because it will be on my website, which is illuminateabundance.com / and then I'm going to put on the Freedom Junkies Radio for you.
Okay,
and have
so
your special page for you. But I'll give you the link as well.
I am still like a yellow belt podcaster, and I'm learning so much. And I mean, I think I'm probably maybe still a white belt, but I'm so like remiss in introducing people. Like, I'm so excited to get to what I want to ask you that I completely like Illuminate Abundance is the name of your website. I read this stuff you sent me. I read it and then I'm like, oh, okay, I know them. And I'm wow. So and I totally forgot that. So I mean, abundance is a big part of it. And we did touch on that. So I'm so excited. So we are going to link to a meditation specifically for you and for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
This beautiful audience. I really feel like you and I obviously connected so well, and I know your listeners are there too. And every little bit of help from each one of us is like, we're creating our own matrix, if you will, and doing our part, serving our part. And together we can make a much more beautiful society for ourselves, for our children, for our children's children, generations to come.
We're living in the world that was created for us, that we've gotten in on here at the tail end, but we're creating the world now. We are, and it is shaking up. Boy, is it.
Big time.
Well, I would love to have you on again. We didn't talk a whole lot about your son's autism, and that interests me so much. That's such a big part of our world right now. And and what you know about education and the education system. I know that there's a lot there. So let's do this again here in a few months. And
I would love to.
Can we just take 3 deep breaths together?
Oh yeah, that would be beautiful.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I just invite everybody just to close their eyes just for a moment and take a deep breath right down to the belly. Let the belly push right on out. Hold at the apex and release. Let's try it one more again. Breathe in. All the way up. Hold at the apex and release. And again, breathe in deeply. Hold at the apex for 3, 2, 1, and release. Just allow yourself to sense the space within. Drop your awareness into your heart space and just sense that beingness. This space, as you become more and more aware of it, is the now moment where everything, all potential is sitting right there, right now. And that's where your source is, the source from which we draw our experiences in life. And you'll get to know it. It's really quite a beautiful feeling if you don't already feel that already. I'm sending much love vibrations to each and every one of you listening. There's no time and space. The energy is pure, perfect, complete, and whole. And it's within you. And so it is.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That takes 1 minute.
Yeah. Right? You don't have to do 20 minutes. Oh my gosh. You should have seen me getting so frustrated sitting around.
I feel high. I feel like, woo. Oh, that's the best ending of a podcast ever.
I loved it.
Oh, thank you, Coco the Spiritual Badass. And for those of you who are still with us, thank you so much for being here. You're officially a Freedom Junkie. And follow us on Telegram. We are on Facebook, YouTube for now. I do believe this one will be on YouTube. We're also on BitChute and Rumble. The website is almost up and running, where you can go and become part of the community. get involved, sponsor the show. So thanks for being here. And until we meet again. Mwah.
Mwah.
I live better than a king ever did.